Hello, I'm Professor Joan de Barleben, and I'd just like to welcome you to our session on the program in European and Russian Studies. And we're going to just chat a little bit about the characteristics of our program and try to answer any questions that you have. I have a PowerPoint presentation, so I'll first go through that. I want to first introduce, however, Philip, who's here. He's one of our students. I think you're third year now, right? And he's going to say a few words later too about the program and about what it's like to be a student in our program. There's quite a lot of information here. So as I'm going through, please feel free to post a question in the Q&A box if you can see where that is. And I'll try to keep track of those and probably answer them as we go along. However, you can also wait till the end and you can post some questions then as well. So we have quite a lot to cover. I mean, this cover slide here, hopefully you find pretty attractive and interesting because it shows some pictures of different places in Europe and Russia, as well as some of our students who are participating in various programs there. And I hope that this gives you a feel of kind of the somewhat interesting and exotic nature of what you'll be studying if you join our program. So let me just see if I can get my slides to move here. Okay, so first, just to introduce, as I mentioned, I'm the undergraduate advisor, Joan de Barleben. I'm a professor in the URIS program, and I teach both Russian and European politics, and have been doing that for quite a long time. It's been the love of my life, and hopefully I can impart some of that enthusiasm to you as we talk today. The director of the program is Professor Krina Viju-Milosevic, and she also does some of the undergraduate advising. But basically most of the undergraduate advising would come to me. And then we have, as I mentioned, Philip. So that's who you're talking to today. If you have questions in the future, you can always contact me, and I'll be happy to answer by email. So just to jump right into it, the institute in which this program is located is the oldest one in Canada. And I think we can say, possibly with the University of Toronto, the leading research and teaching institute in this field. And I really think we, in a way, have a broader range of programs. And also we have dedicated staff. We have actually 8 faculty members who are appointed either partially or cross-appointed in the institute, which is quite unique for a program of this type. We are a small program, and this enables us to get to know our students individually. We also have a master's program. And we have, I think we can say, leading experts in both the European and Russian side who are teaching. We're celebrating our 50th anniversary, and I put up here the kind of web link for our events because it also gives you a bit of history of our program. And then you might ask, well, why would I want to study this region? And it's a good question because you might think, well, power is shifting a little bit toward Asia, and there's a lot of discussion about China now. But the fact of the matter is that Europe and Russia are still really important parts of really have a lot of global influence. As far as Europe goes, the European Union is the largest single economic market in the world. And of course, it's also a very important partner of Canada. I would say next to the United States, it's clearly the most important partner. And in many ways, we share a lot more values with the European Union than we do, especially in sort of recent developments with the United States. And so this means that looking forward, if you're thinking of going into work in the public service, in the kind of government job, international organizations, this is an area that's going to have continuing importance for Canada and also internationally, and therefore opens a lot of doors to you. I mean, this is apart from just the intrinsic interest of Europe. Europe is now, it's a big area. It covers dozens of countries, great diversity. And the European Union is a really unique experiment in how to regionally integrate such a diverse set of populations. Russia is intrinsically interesting. I got hooked on Russia when I was in high school. Maybe that has happened to you as well. I started taking Russian language at that point. But many of our students are just fascinated by Russia. And of course, it continues to be a very influential actor, despite the fact that its population is, considerably smaller than the European Union or the United States. And maybe one would think in some ways the power of Russia has waned since the collapse of the Soviet Union. But you can see if you read the news, if you keep up with the news, that Russia just has an extremely important influence, not only in its immediate neighborhood, but around the world. Now, if you join this program, you will have a language requirement, and many of our students learn Russian, which I did actually myself when I was starting in high school and then in university. And it's a very good language to know because not that many people know it. And it's really useful if you're trying to make a career in this kind of field of international affairs. So those are some of the reasons I think that this is a really great field to study. I found it to be a lifelong fascination. It's always changing. It's never been boring. It's sometimes been frustrating and exasperating to try to keep up with things. But it's been, for me, a lifelong pursuit that I've really enjoyed, and I would like others to share that. So now just to move on to show you where we're located, we have wonderful physical facilities for our program. We're located in what's called Ridgecraft Hall. It used to be called the River Building because it's right on the river. You can see this is the student lounge. And as a student, you would have access to this lounge, assuming that obviously health regulations allow that. But this is a place where you would get the key code and you could go in there during the day and, sit, chat with other students, have your lunch, or just do a little bit of reading or whatever else you want to do. It's a beautiful place. This is the director's office. This is the outside of the building. And this is the atrium of the building in which we're located. This is a relatively new building. And I think if you visit Carleton and you get a chance to go there, you'll find it to be a really wonderful location. So this is an interdisciplinary program, which means that you aren't limited in terms of the courses you take or in terms of the approaches you take to one particular discipline. Our courses draw from a wide range of disciplines, which are listed here. We also have our own courses, which are interdisciplinary in their nature. And you also will learn a language, one of these languages that are listed here that are taught at Carleton. Now, I have on this slide some examples of specialized courses that we've offered recently. And you can see there's quite a wide span. Some of them are historical. Some of them are about, very current topics like Russia-China relations, Russian foreign policy, the European integration and European security. This is just a sampling. And we're always offering special topics courses and usually have on a regular basis European visitors also to teach. So you get kind of firsthand exposure to what the most recent thinking is coming out of Europe on many of these topics. So if you don't want to be kind of pigeonholed into a particular discipline, this is really a great program because it gives you that kind of flexibility. Now, this is a kind of a confusing slide maybe, but I'll try to just very quickly give an overview here. We won't be able to cover all of this, but there are various ways that you can be involved with our program. And the two main ones would be our BA honors degree, which is our kind of flagship degree, which is, you really immerse yourself in study of the region. For that, and for most of the other programs, except for the minor, you would have to have at least two years of language, or you can test out based on proficiency. If this is, for example, if it's your mother tongue, if you have Russian or German as a mother tongue, you can test out of the requirement based on proficiency. And then the other kind of major option is the Begin specialization, where you would take the Bachelor of Global and International Studies and take a specialization in Europe and Russia in the world. And this is a slightly smaller number of credits in our field, but it covers the same kind of breadth. So if you want to, be a little bit broader in your overall program, but you're very interested in this particular region, this would be a very good choice for you. You can also do a combined BA honors, which means that you literally, it's like a double major. You have EURUS on the one hand, the European and Russian studies, and on the other hand, you have another discipline where you have basically an equal number of credits. And students really like this if they're, thinking, well, I really like political science, but I don't want to just do political science and I'm really interested in this region, then the BA combined honors would be a really good option for you. And you can basically combine it with almost any other program in the university that has that kind of an option itself. And then finally, there's the minor. And this is if you're doing a different program, but you want to tag this on as kind of an add-on. And with that one, you don't have the language requirement. It's just 4 credits. And so it's a fairly, compact way to get exposed to the fields. So you can shift between these, especially between the BA Honors, the BA Honors Combined. Of course, if you do that too late, then you might not have all the requirements and it might slow you down a bit. But these are the main options that you would consider. And we can talk a little bit more about those if you have any questions that you want to ask about the differences between them. But we have about an equal number of students in the BA Honors as in the Begin Specialization. So they're pretty evenly balanced in our student body. And the students in those 2 streams, in fact, in all of these 3 streams, basically take the same core courses. So you would be interacting with students from those same groups. Now, this is a kind of description of what you need to take if you choose the BA Honors, the Bachelor of European and Russian Studies with honors requirement, which would be the 4-year degree program. You can also take a 3-year variant of that, but most people do the 4-year one. And I'm not going to go into this in great detail, but just to point out a couple things, which is that we have this core of these core courses, which are running from the 1st through the 3rd year. So you have a kind of core in each of those first 3 years that you have to take. And so the other students in your cohort would also be in these courses with you. And they cover politics, some economics, and literature and culture. These are usually not really large courses, and so they offer a really good opportunity to get to know the instructors. And then beyond that, you have requirements to cover a number of disciplinary fields, and you can pick there from various courses that are available to fulfill these requirements. So if you're more interested on the Russia side, you can pick courses that are more leaning in that direction. If you're more on the Europe side, you can pick courses leaning in that direction or a mix. And there's a list in the calendar that shows which ones you can choose from. And then when you get to the 4th year level, you have 4 courses or 2 credits of 4th year honors seminars, which are smaller classes where it's mainly discussion and, writing papers and that kind of thing. And then there are electives, which you can choose from a whole range. It's a very long list if you look at our calendar of courses that you can pick and for your electives. Now, in addition to that, you have 9 free electives, and you do have to do the economics so that you can qualify to take the upper level economic course. So that's a basic overview, and all the kind of tracks in the program basically follow that same logic. They're just a little bit different numbers for some of these categories, but they basically follow this essentially same logic. We'll see that as we go along. So this would be the combined, and you can see the core is still there. There's still this distribution of credits between the other categories I mentioned. So it's basically very similar, but it's just a slightly pared down version because you're doing a kind of double major with this other field as well. So obviously you can't do as many credits in European and Russian studies. These combined majors and minors, the combined degrees, what I'm calling kind of double majors, these are just examples of some of the departments that students frequently combine them with. For example, journalism is very popular because that means you have substantive knowledge as you're preparing to be a journalist. Or political science, history, those are very popular ones to do combined degrees. You can also do a minor, and we have one student in stream right now who's doing a biology major and doing a minor in European and Russian studies. So these are various options, that mixing and matching of things that you can consider when you're trying to figure out which program to take. A sample first-year program in the BA Honors could look something like this. It could vary, but this would be kind of what you'd expect. You take our core course, the economics, which is a prerequisite for the higher level course that you have to take, and then a first-year seminar of your choice. And here's some examples of what you might pick there. And then other introductory courses from this type of a list. These are not the first-year seminars. These are the first-year courses. The first-year seminars vary a little bit from year to year, but they're smaller courses where you get more, close contact with your instructor. So this is kind of the typical first-year program. And I would add to that, usually people might take a language course too, depending where your language knowledge is, that you might want to jump in right away and start getting up to speed with whatever language you're picking up for the degree program. So that's kind of how a typical first-year program would look in the honors program. Now, the Bachelor of Global and International Studies, which is its own degree program, has its own requirements, but you can pick a specialization. This is a different option in Europe and Russia in the world. And Philip is actually in that track, so he can tell you a little bit more about that if you're interested. And we have here now a kind of description of these are the courses that would be required for the Bachelor of Global and International Studies. They have their own core, which you have to take, which is first year, second year, third year, and fourth year. And there's also a language requirement, which is very similar to our language requirement. And they have an international experience requirement. So it's a little bit different than the BA honors program in European and Russian studies, because you have this other core of courses that you're taking for the Bachelor of Global and International Studies. But then on top of that, you add these specialization courses, which are supplementing that kind of core that you're getting in the Bachelor of Global and International Studies. So these are, again, looks pretty similar to what I showed you before. It's just a little bit more pared down, because obviously if you're taking all those classes in Global and International Studies, you aren't going to be able to put as many from the European and Russian Studies side. But it follows the same structure. You take these core courses and then a selection from across a range of disciplines, as well as some fourth-year seminars. So, it's pretty similar regardless of which of those tracks you go on. And you simply have different numbers of courses that you would take in the various categories, depending on which one you would pick. So this would be a sample first-year program. If you took the Bachelor of Global and International Studies, you'd have the courses from that program, the core. You'd have our core course, probably a language course, a first-year seminar, and then an introductory course in disciplines of your choice. So it follows, again, the same kind of principle as the other example that I gave you. So now there's a few things about our programs that we are very, very proud of. And I think they're kind of the jewel in the crown, because students really love them. And they really help you as you're thinking about the next step after you complete your degree. They get into 30 or so and they begin to think, aha, I'm getting near the end of my studies. What am I going to do next? Some people from our program go on to graduate studies, and we're very happy to say that many come into our own MA program because they like it and they want to pursue that further, or they go to other universities to do graduate studies. But these two options in your BA program can open doors to also to employment, because they give you work experience, which is, of course, very important as you're thinking about later on applying to jobs. So we have two kinds of special ways to get this work experience. One is our co-op program, and you may have become familiar with the co-op program from other talks you've been to today. It is something that allows you to do actual, full-time work in a position that's related to your field of study. You would get on your transcript, if you complete the co-op option, a notation on your transcript that you had completed the co-op program. It normally involves 3 work terms, so 3 terms when you're doing this, and it's paid, which is really nice. So you have to apply to be in this either directly from high school. You can put that as your indication of what degree program you want to go into, although you can change it later if you decide not to. Or you can apply anytime by the end of your second year, so you have some time to think about it if you aren't quite sure. The thing about the co-op program, it does extend the length of time needed to complete your degree, because you have these 3 work terms. But on the other hand, you've got the benefit of that practical experience. You get to network with people, you get to see how the real work world works. And in some cases, people even get bridged into positions after they complete their co-op position. So this is a very exciting opportunity. You do have to apply for particular co-op postings, and get accepted to them, but our co-op office is very, very helpful in terms of trying to assure that students are successful in getting these co-op placements. We added this in just about 10 years ago, and it's just been a wonderful addition to the program that students really like. The second track you can go on to try this is that you can do an internship program. This is a scaled back approach to this issue of getting work experience. This is open to fourth year BA students. It's a special program in URUS. It's not an all university thing. This is something that our department runs specifically for its students. And basically you spend 1 day a week working in something like a foreign embassy, a non-governmental organization, a private company, or a government department. And you aren't paid, but you do get a course credit for it because it's associated with an actual academic course where you learn other skills like how to write a resume, how to do policy papers, things that are very practical. And students also really like this option because it doesn't slow you down in completing your degree. You would still finish your degree in the same amount of time because it's just equivalent of taking a course that is a kind of what we call experiential learning, meaning you learn through experience rather than just, through reading and that kind of stuff. So these are two elements of the program we're very proud of and we think are very, very useful for our students. And the other one, of course, is study abroad, which of course has been placed on a bit of a hold with COVID, but we hope that it'll be back soon. That's our greatest wish, that our students will be able to again begin traveling. We do have exchanges with universities in these countries, so it's quite a wide selection that you can pick from. Most students do this in probably their third year would be the most likely, or it could possibly, if it's a one term, it could possibly occur in the fourth year, but most students come back and try to then complete their degree requirements in their fourth year. And you can either usually go for 1 term or for 2 terms, and you can also fulfill some of your course requirements while you're there. Some of them require knowledge of a foreign language of the country you're visiting, and others don't. So in many cases, you can study in English in these countries, but in other cases, it's necessary to learn some of the language skills before you go. See, summer opportunities are another thing that we've worked very hard within our unit to develop for our students. And I'll just mention 2 of these. One is the Russian program, language program, tries to assist students in getting intensive language training in Russia or in another Russian-speaking country in the region. This varies a little bit from year to year where we're able to find the appropriate partner, but we do have an arrangement with the University of St. Petersburg in Russia, which is part of our exchange agreement with them, for people to take up to 2 full course credits there during the summer. Now, again, with COVID, that had to be put on hold, but we're hoping it'll be back soon. And then on the European side, we have participated for many years now in something called the EU Study Tour, which involves a 2 to 3 week visit in Europe involving firsthand consultations in European institutions. It's a great deal of fun. There are usually 40 or 50 students from across Canada who participate, and it also offers an optional internship component for the rest of the summer. So these are just examples of the kinds of things we do to try to encourage our students to get experience abroad during the course of their study programs. Where would you think you might end up after you complete this degree? Well, it's pretty well like, most BA degrees. It gives you a general qualification, but the advantage is that you do have some specialized skills, including language skills. And so where our people end up, many end up in government departments, and I've listed just a few of them here, which are places that are, fairly common. Some work in non-governmental organizations. These might be think tanks, research organizations of various types, or other organizations with particular mandates that are of a more practical nature. International organizations, another possibility. And some people go and work for companies that do business with this region because of the specialized skills that our students have. As mentioned, many of our students go on to graduate study. It usually, first an MA program and possibly a PhD, although some go to law school. go on to learn to be teachers and get a teaching qualification. And the advantages you have when you're entering the job market, your foreign language skill knowledge, your interdisciplinary training should not be underestimated, because as we know now, the world is very interconnected. And people who can connect those dots, who aren't just narrowly focused on one thing, are highly prized now in the workplace, because everything, whether it's climate change, whether it's dealing with refugee problems, whether it's dealing with, media and communication, more and more involves that flexibility to move between types of knowledge. So this, I think, is a real advantage that our students have. We also have a very good reputation in Ottawa, in government departments, and many alumni who know about us. And so when they're looking around for people to hire, they will sometimes turn to us and to advertise whatever they're looking for, or to get references or whatever. So these are the kinds of things that the degree, I think, gives you an advantage with. And of course, I should mention that we have a lot of resources at Carleton, the library you probably heard about already. But we also have a research unit called the Center for European Studies, which has been funded for the past, now it's been about 20 years, gotten grants from the European Union to run a whole range of lectures, conferences, events, visiting scholars, grants for students that our students benefit from. And you can learn more about that on the website of the Center for European Studies if you're interested, but I can also tell you more about that if you like, but we have limited time, so I won't go into that too much right now. Finally, as I mentioned, we have a lot of lectures, conferences, public events. These are just examples of the kinds of topics we cover, very broad range of topics. Current topics, when the annexation of Crimea occurred, we were talking about that a lot in our events. When there are elections, we talk about them. When there's a crisis, like about migration, we organize events. And of course, right now, climate change is on everybody's mind with the COP26 meeting going on. So we have a lot of events relating to that, the Arctic. So if you take advantage of these, you're rubbing elbows once things are back to normal with people from the embassies, with people from government departments. So it's very exciting to be in Ottawa when you go to these events, because we do draw our audience a large part from off campus. And it really gives our students a good opportunity to have that kind of contact. So this is our contact information. If you're interested in more information, you can look at our Facebook page, which is linked from our homepage. This is our website here, and our Twitter account. And of course, you can contact either myself or Professor Viju Ilusevich, who's the director now. So with that, I'll stop, and I don't see any questions yet. So I think I'll turn things over to Philip for a few minutes, and he can give you a little bit of a student's perspective, and then we can see if you have any questions.
Sure. So, hi everybody. My name is Philip Was. I'm a third year in Bachelor's of Global International Studies, and like Professor said, I specialize in Europe and Russia and the world. Europe and Russia and the world, my specialization in it, it's been such a unique experience, mostly because of the faculty themselves and just the way the department is. In fact, pretty much my first day, I believe, on campus, I met with some of the faculty from BGINS, so Global International Studies, and then afterwards I was taken aside by some of the faculty from URIS, and they immediately gave me a tour of the facilities. They talked to me, introduced themselves, and they gave me such attention and care for somebody who's just this kind of random first year who just came in for a tour, and they were very kind and attentive, and actually they put me on the mailing list, and ever since I've been on that mailing list, I've received information about events, get-togethers, lectures, things like that. I receive information about programs from the European Union, about programs Global Affairs might have, and it's really interesting because I've never had this kind of experience with any other faculty. I've taken a lot of courses. I've taken politics courses, history courses, even global international studies courses, and those courses were great, but I never felt like I was really part of something. I almost felt like I was just another number, because obviously that's not something you can avoid. University is huge, but with URUS, it's such a family experience, and everybody knows you, and everybody is able to recognize you, even as a first year. One of my favorite memories is after I was introduced to everybody, I was actually invited to this meeting. I believe it was just a faculty meeting, and you had master students there, you had long-term faculty there, and I was there too, and it was such an interesting and crazy experience for a first year to be treated like that, and you won't get that anywhere else. Other than that, I think the something that's great about about URUS is how experienced the faculty is. Like, for example, we have one of our previous directors. He's met Jean Chrétien, one of our current faculty members, Piotr Tutkiewicz. He's part of the Valdai discussion group, which is a discussion group that meets with Putin regularly. And that's only the professors that I'm aware of that have these kind of experiences. I'm sure there are other faculty have much more. Another fantastic part are the URUS events. You get to go to these lectures and meetings and discussions, and you really get to hear from probably the top experts in the field about whether Europe, Russia, Europe-Russian relations, anything like that. In fact, I went to a Euro-sponsored meeting once where the deputy ambassador of Russia attended. So he was in the same room as us, and he was giving a presentation, and it wasn't like this massive hall of people. There was maybe 30 people there, so you could have easily put your hand up and asked a question. You could have easily, in fact, probably gone to talk to him afterwards. Yeah, the department is really something that's unique at Carleton. I think it's something that a lot of people don't know of, and that's unfortunate. But what that does provide is it does provide that family atmosphere where the faculty knows you, everybody knows each other. It's a fantastic place to get contacts, a fantastic place to even have a community, make friends, talk to like-minded people. I think it's really a hidden gem at Carleton. And yeah, I really urge you guys to check it out, because it's a great opportunity, and it'll provide you with a lot of great things for your school experience.
Thanks very much, Philip, for those very nice words too. So let's see if we have any questions. I don't see any right now. We're a small group here, so don't be shy. Feel free to ask anything. We're keen to tell you things, and if there's anything at all in your mind, we'd certainly like to hear from you and just be able to give you a little bit more information or impressions of things that might be helpful to you as you're trying to decide what you're going to do next year. I'm sure it's a challenging environment to be making such a decision in, given the fact we're online here rather than in person, which we'd love to be seeing you actually in person, and I hope soon that'll be possible. I think actually there is an in-person open house as well. I think you have to register for it in advance. So if you're still interested in that, you probably can look into that and take advantage of that as well. Of course, if you're in Ottawa, that wouldn't be so easy, but if you are locally here. Is there anything that you'd like to ask? Okay. Anything else comes to mind for you, Philip? We think would be helpful to students?
No, nothing much that I can think of.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming. And if you do have any further questions, you've got the contact information here. Please take a look at our webpage. It's very easy to find, and you'll get an idea of the flavor of some of the things we do. I think in a little bit more depth than you can get just from this short description. And I'll look forward, to hearing from you if you have any additional questions, and hopefully seeing you next year if you decide to join our program.
Just real quick, our website, our Facebook, and our Twitter is linked in the chat section.
Oh, is it? Okay. Very good. Okay. That's excellent. Okay, well, have
Thanks.
a rest of your day and very nice to see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.